All right, good afternoon. My name is David Shukiar, and I am proud to be the president of the Guild of Temple Musicians. And I want to personally welcome you all to this next session of Guild Talks Music. You know, when thinking of topics for these sessions, our committee always thinks first of the topics that would interest us the most. Selfishly, I chose this particular session because Jewish opera is something I'm really interested in and honestly something I know very little about. And I knew that the perfect person to lead this discussion is Dr. Leonard Lehrman, who is a proud member of our organization. Dr. Lehrman's works have been heard on 6 continents in English, French, German, Russian, Romanian, Yiddish, Hebrew, and Ladino, including the first Yiddish concert during the Wagner Festival in Beirut, and on over 4,000 YouTube videos with more than 1 million views. Dr. Lehrman has composed 12 operas, 7 musicals, 50 choral works, including 22 for the synagogue, and 290 songs. The first Jew to conduct Fiddler on the Roof in Berlin. I apologize, Leonard. I am probably not going to pronounce this correctly. You might want to correct me on this. He founded the Jüdischer Musiktheater in Berlin in 1983. I'm sure that was horrible. If you want to correct it,
Jüdischer Musiktheaterverein. And by the way, it's Bayreuth, not Beirut. Beirut is in Lebanon. Bayreuth is in Germany.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you for that clarification. He also founded the Metropolitan Philharmonic Chorus in 1988. And in 2014, he became the High Holy Days music director of the Metropolitan Synagogue and taught the first course ever in Jewish opera at HUC-JIR in New York. While honestly, I could go on and on about Dr. Lehrman's credentials, I want us to get right to the music. So please help me welcome Dr. Leonard Lehrman to lead this session. We will begin with the 1-minute choral wedding fugue, Baruch Haba Bashem Adonai, from the U.S. premiere of his opera Hannah, performed in Hebrew at the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion, December 23rd, 2014.
Baruch haba, everyone. Welcome. That was a performance by my Metropolitan Philharmonic Chorus at Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion of the choral wedding fugue, which can be and often has been sung on Palm Sunday as well, from the New York City premiere, December 23rd, 2014, of what Professor Joel Mandelbaum has called the quintessential Jewish opera, Hannah, of which we'll be hearing more later. Just 4 months before the premiere of that work, I taught the first class at HUC-JIR, and what I believe was the first course ever given anywhere in Jewish opera. Professor Mandelbaum and Sheldon Harnick were present at the second of those classes a week later, but unfortunately the course ended due to enrollment problems. Congregations now tend to include guitar accompaniment, sometimes over piano or organ, with congregants more likely to prefer singing along with simple tunes rather than listening to trained voices and counterpoint. Thanks to Professor Mandelbaum, at Community Church of New York, I did get to deliver 5 of the lectures. Here's the flyer from that. which I had prepared, and they are all on YouTube. Now, for this short talk, I've drawn upon portions of some of those lectures, along with the Baker's Dozen videos, subtitled for this occasion, drawn from the over 4,000 on my YouTube channel, which has had over 1 million views this last decade. I do believe there's a Jewish opera audience out there, but it needs to be sought out and cultivated. I do believe that there is an audience there. The arts in general can enrich one's life experience, and opera is in many ways the most sophisticated of all the arts, as it combines all of them: the visual, the vocal, the instrumental, the dramatic, the kinetic, and yes, at its best, the spiritual. In this talk, I'll be defining Jewish opera as a work entirely or primarily sung, performable in an opera house on a Jewish subject by a Jewish composer. Notable operas we will therefore not be considering include Nabucco, Samson and Delilah, L'Amico Fritz, Salome, Jack Beeson's Jonah, or any of the 102 works by Jacques Offenbach, or The Death of Klinghoffer, which we'll mention later. That narrows the list down from about 2,000 to 444. The best book on the subject, which I highly recommend, is Ken Jaffe's Solo Works on Jewish Themes, a bibliography of Jewish composers. I was hoping Ken would be here today, but I understand he's celebrating his birthday out in California. But his book was inspired by my lecture for the Jewish Music Roundtable of the Music Library Association in 1996 Seattle Convention. It was later published in Aufbau and Opera Journal. And it was my connection with Ken and his then wife, Ada Schur, which brought about her brother, Michael Niemann's, hiring me through the GTM as High Holidays music director for the Metropolitan Synagogue in 2014, a position I still hold and cherish. And Michael is with us today, which I'm pleased to say. We're going to greet him later. The lectures that I planned for my course were divided into 12 topics, which I'll list now, telling you the number of known operas in each category, with a link to this list that David Shukiar says he's going to post in the chat. The link is posted to my website, and he will post that link so you can refer to it in the chat. We'll then sample 12 excerpts covering all but 2 of these categories. Category 1 in my lecture series, operas based on the great American Jewish writer Bernard Malamud's short stories and novels, 7. Category 2, operas in or based on texts in Hebrew, 53, and Yiddish, 51. Category 3, French, 18, and Russian, 15. Category 4, Genesis, including Adam, Lilith, Eve, Cain, Noah, Lot, Abraham, Hagar, Sarah, Isaac, Jacob, 45. Category 5, Exodus, 11, and Kings, Saul, David, Solomon, 22. That's one category that we're not sampling today. Category 6, heroines, including Esther, 20, Ruth, 11, Judith, 8, Miriam, 3, Job's wife, 4, and Emma Goldman, 4. Category 7, this is the largest category, Shulamit and the Song of Songs, 75 operas. Category 8, the Holocaust, 25. Category 9, the Maccabees, 7. Category 10, Dibbuks, 11, and Golems, 9. Category 11, children's and comic operas, 45. Category 12, 21st century Jewish operas, 9 to date. Also not really covered today. The oldest and most seminal of all Jewish operas is Jacques Fromental Halevy's La Juive from 1835, which had a tremendous influence on Verdi, Meyerbeer, Wagner, and especially the composer's son-in-law, Georges Bizet, who completed Halevy's last opera, Noé, which I found at the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris. There is a complete audio recording that was made recently, but this excerpt, in which Noah's daughter tells of a comforting angel she has seen in a vision, is, I believe, the only known video of any part of that opera. It's sung by Helene Williams, December 1st, 2014, in French, with bilingual subtitles I created for this lecture.
Pourquoi
Just as Bizet completed his mentor's last work, so I have completed 21 works by Leonard Bernstein's mentor, Mark Blitzstein, including his magnum opus, Sacco and Vanzetti, which is scheduled for its orchestral premiere September 10th and 11th at Lehman College in the Bronx, directed by Benjamin Spierman, who's with us today. Richard Flusser told me Bernstein called me Mark's Dibuk, on which subject more later. Now, here is an excerpt from Blitzstein's last begun work, the first one of his that I completed, a story song from the 1992 orchestral premiere of the first opera created on a short story by Bernard Malamud, Idiots First. You might want to turn up your volume just a little bit on this track. So that duet, performed here by Mark Tobias and James Sergi, was first performed with an orchestra conducted by Leonard Bernstein, April 11th, 1964, at a Mark Blitzstein Memorial Concert. It was then called Philharmonic Hall, as a solo by Jose Ferrer, who Harold Schoenberg in the New York Times said sang with a Yiddish accent that would have made a row of Blintzes stand up and salute. Ferrer told me at the time he thought that was an insult and then realized it was a compliment, of course. My completion of the opera has had 4 productions to date and won the 1978 Off-Broadway Opera Award for Most Important Event of the Season. Now we're going to have two more duets created by a couple of our favorite writers, sung by me and Helene. First, a number that was cut from what has been called the Jewish National Opera, based, of course, on the Yiddish stories of Sholem Aleichem, Fiddler on the Roof, which I was privileged to be the first Jew to conduct in Berlin, after which I founded the Jüdische Musiktheaterverein Berlin. The music to this piece that was cut from the show was sent to me by Sheldon Harnick on request after he accepted honorary Verein membership. Helene and I performed it for him at my second lecture at HUC-JAR. And then after that, we'll have our favorite duet from Seymour Barab's Jewish Humor from Oi to There.
When Messiah comes, he will say to us,
I apologize that I took so long, but I had a little trouble finding you. Over here a few, and over there a few. You were hard to reunite, but everything is going to be all right. Up in heaven there, how I wrung my hands when they exiled you from the promised land. Into Babylon you went like castaways on the first of many, many moving days. What a day and what a blow! How terrible I felt, you'll never know.
Since that day, many men said to us, get thee out. Kings they were, gone they are. We're still here. When Messiah comes, he will say to us,
don't you think I know what a time you've had? Now I'm here. You'll see how quickly things improve. You won't have to move unless you want to move. You shall never more take flight. Yes, everything is going to be all right.
When Messiah comes, he will say to us,
I was worried sick if you'd last or not. And I spoke to God and said, would that be fair if Messiah came and there was no one there? And the Lord replied to me, wait, everything will be all right, you'll see.
many times, many men took our homes, took our lives. Kings they were, gone they are. We're still here. When Messiah comes and his reign begins, truth and justice then shall appear on earth. But if this reward we would be worthy of, we must keep our covenant with God above. So be patient and devout, and gather up your things and get thee out.
No, Becky, you know what I'm thinking lately?
No, Sam, what you thinking lately?
I'll tell you. I'm thinking how nice it would be. I should retire, and you and me, we go live in Florida.
Yes, that would be nice. You worked hard all your life.
Yes.
You deserve a rest.
So?
We'll get a condominium with a minimum of fuss, with a cook and housemaid living in who'll do everything for us.
It's a nice thought, Becky. But on my pension, this we couldn't afford.
We could afford.
So, Mrs. Rockefeller, how could we afford?
This I never told you, but a little something of my own I got put away.
Put away? How? When? Where did it come from?
Every time we made love, I took a certain amount out of the household money to put into a brokerage account.
Every time we made love. But, Becky, in the 40 years we've been married, that must be dozens of times. And every time you put away money.
Sam, you're too modest. I got now in my account $1.7 million.
$1.7 million. Oh, Becky.
What's the matter?
Oh, Becky. If only only I had known. If only you had told me. I would have given you all my business.
Well, that's our favorite piece of Seymour Barab's. In fact, his memorial, we were asked if we performed a lot of his music, and we said, no, we don't perform a lot of his music, but we performed his music a lot, over a dozen times in different countries. In fact, there's a German connection to those two duets. I first heard When Messiah Comes on an LP by Freddie Dura in a translation by the Viennese cabaretist Gerhard Brunner, who also translated the Barab piece for us to perform in various places in German. He called it Der Sparstrumpf, and then decided that he liked it so much he wrote his own music to do it as well in his cabaret act. So the next two Holocaust operas also obviously have a German connection. Joel Mandelbaum's opera, The Village, is about a child. Here's the score that he actually autographed to me. It's about a child hidden in Nazi-occupied France, whose mother writes him from Paris, and it's loosely based on the real life story of the husband of his librettist, Susan Fox. Helene has sung arias from it on several occasions, but we want to share with you this recording with Joel himself at the piano, accompanying the wonderful singer Kathryn Wieckhorst, whose husband Dirk Shatner plans to direct the European premiere of the opera in Hamburg this fall. After that, we'll hear a short duet from the 1985 European premiere in Berlin, in German, of the late Mira J. Spektor's The Lady of the Castle, Die Herren des Schlosses, it's called in German, which is also about children hiding from the Nazis in Eastern Europe and Jewish pioneers looking for them after World War II to bring them to the land of Israel. Sarah J. Spektor was herself a Holocaust refugee, having fled her native Berlin for Vienna, then Paris, then New York. And she came back to Berlin for the first time for that production. She told me she loved the German translation, a collaboration between me and the poet Miriam Walter. I used to kid her, saying that the trouble with her unrhymed English libretto was that it loses in the original. So, two short solos of mine now that also deal with children. First, Emma Goldman's childhood dream of being Judith, from Karen Ruoff Kramer's In My E.G., a musical portrait of Emma Goldman, which I actually list as one of my 7 musicals, not one of my 12 operas, but it was performed at the 1991 National Opera Association convention in Chicago. And here, E.G., a musical portrait of Emma Goldman by the Living Theater says opera will take place. So some people call it an opera. Who am I to say it's not an opera? Here, a couple more programs and flyers. Helene has done this actually 49 times in 5 countries. This show, which, as I say, was known as an opera in some places. And if there ever was a song about Jewish identity, I think this Judith Dream of hers is it. It was sung by a number of sopranos, but Helene was the first Jewish woman to do it after she auditioned for me on January 7th, 1987. I told her to take this home, learn it, and sing the hell out of it, and if she wanted the part, which she did. So we like to say that she then walked off with the role and the composer. Following the Judith Dream from E.G., we'll have the aria of the Orphanage Supervisor from my 1976 opera, Sima. Here's a poster from that. It was done in Berlin, but the premiere was in Ithaca in 1976. It's based on a novella in Russian that my uncle Edgar H. Lehrman discovered in the New York Public Library Slavic Room by David Yakovlevich Eisman, a Jewish contemporary of Chekhov, about children orphaned by the 1905 pogrom in Nikolaev, now called Mykolaiv, Ukraine. Eisman did not give the character a name, but I called her Luba Borisovna after a cousin of mine who grew up in Leningrad. I met her there in 1971, and she's now in Israel. The opera was performed in Berlin in German, and excerpts have also been sung in French and Russian. A video of the original Ithaca Opera Association production at Cornell was shown on cable TV and all over Europe, including Russia, in the 1980s, and is posted on YouTube. But I've chosen the best quality video of this aria, sung in concert by Helene's daughter-in-law, Hannah Spierman. So first it's Judith's Dream, and then Luba's aria.
There is nothing wrong with Miss Goldman's gospel that I can see, except that she is about 8,000 years ahead of her time.
Yes. That's what William Marion Reed said about me back in 1908, 25 years ago. He called me the daughter of the dream. But my earliest dream had its roots 2,500 years ago. Not the Bible, the opera. I've been dated to my 8th birthday. It became my life.
In that first dream,
I cut off the head of the tyrant of fairy.
Complete subtitled videos of E.G. and Sima are now posted on YouTube, as is the next work with which I began this lecture, my opera based on a Hanukkah Midrash, as well as 24 books of the Bible and 36 Psalms, Hannah. It's the only opera of its size on the subject, except for Anton Rubinstein's Die Maccabäer, published and produced in German and in Russian for the last time nearly a century ago. The trouble with that work is, yes, it was written by a composer who was born Jewish, but he was baptized at age 2. And the Maccabees' martyrdom is seen as a precursor to Jesus, the way Andrew Lloyd Webber's Joseph's Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat is viewed as the forerunner to his Jesus Christ Superstar, which doesn't seem to bother some temples who produce it anyway. In Hannah, the daughter of Mattathias, sister of the Maccabees, protests the law of the first night by taking off all her clothes at her wedding, shaming her brothers into action against the oppressor. Judah assures their father, "We know our own land far better than any enemy ever can." Sound familiar? This is the only opera I know of its size to be produced with a cast made up entirely of cantors, 8 of them, and 2 cantorial soloists. Premiered in 1980 at a US military theater in West Germany, starring, among others, Charles Osborne, who subsequently became Jewish and a cantor. It received its New York City premiere at HUC-JIR in 2014, starring cantors you'll now see and hear: Raphael Frieder as Mattathias, Meredith Greenberg as Hannah, and as her young brother, Simon, the only one who will survive the war, Helene Williams, who over the course of 25 years, sang every female role in the opera in numerous concerts. In between the first and last excerpts from the opera, please watch and listen to the first piece I wrote in the opera, a love duet based on the Song of Songs, performed for us in concert by cantors David Perper and Faith Steinsnyder.
By the sea, of the new moon reeds.
Beloved, I don't know how to reply. It is pleasant here, shaded by the cedars and the firs.
before we take questions, just one more 2-minute excerpt from another opera performed at HUC-JAR in 1997, based on Bernard Malamud's Scene of a Play, Suppose a Wedding, a monologue which he borrowed uncredited from Ansky's The Dybbuk. My libretto restored the credit, however, in dialogue between Ronald Edwards as the retired Yiddish actor Maurice Foyer and Helene's son, Benjamin Spierman, as Leon Singer, a sports salesman and would-be suitor of Foyer's daughter. So when I performed that number as a solo at the end of a long National Opera Association convention symposium on Sacco and Vanzetti, Howard Zinn remarked, "Thank you, Leonard. That was worth waiting for." And I hope you found it worth waiting for and found this lecture and these excerpts useful, maybe even inspiring. I'll be happy to answer any questions, even if we go maybe a little bit over an hour, David. First, I want to greet Joel Mandelbaum, who I see is here, and he came a little late. I called him to make sure that he was there when we were playing his music, and he was there. So great to see you, Joel.
Hi. Good to see
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you so much, Leonard. What a terrific program. Before we open this up and allow for some questions, feel free to turn your cameras on. And then once I finish this announcement, you can unmute. We can stay just a few minutes, but we got to keep to our hour. But I want to make sure that I make just a quick plug. Save the date for our next Guild Talks webinar, when Emily Howard Meyer, who is the owner of oisongs.com, will walk us through what's fresh and new and what's also ancient in High Holy Day repertoire. That's going to be Tuesday, May 3rd at 7 p.m. Eastern. We will, of course, be sharing more information about that. But now, Leonard, again, a huge thank you to you. What a pleasure. What a wonderful hour it has been.
Thank you.
We do have a few minutes for some visiting.
Yeah,
if
and
anyone
also
has
a plug for our next concert, which is on Tuesday, April 5th at 7 p.m. At 5 p.m. Eastern time, and it's in honor of Jewish Music Month. 5 p.m. Yeah, in honor of Jewish Music Month. We'll hear Helene singing that aria from Joel's opera and many other things too.
Wonderful.
So
Wonderful. And I am also going to be posting a link now to a playlist of the selections that you were able to watch, if you want to see them on your own computer and not kind of going through someone else's. It's a terrific playlist. So here we go.
Thank you. And we'll eventually post the entire concert with the commentary and discussion on that same playlist. I think Helene wanted to say something. You want to unmute yourself, darling?
I was just going to say it's April 5 at 5.
Right.
That's all.
Okay. I see Mark Wasserstrom is with us from Kansas City. That's great. and David Hickey. Oh, he's a West Coast Facebook friend, and Ralph Locke, my dearest friend, who was there at my wedding actually when that love duet was sung way back in 1978. And Tom Smith, our student and composer and singer, is here. Great to see you. And Ben, do you want to say hello? You had the last word, which was "oh" in the last excerpt. Ben?
Yeah, sure. I think I said "oh" and "no." So I had two lines and they rhymed.
You said what was that from? Is what you?
What was that from? No and oh. So it was short of my range. Thanks, Mom. No, just hello everybody. It's a lovely program. Great to see you. Great to see y'all. And
say hi to your wife for us. We love
do.
Singing. I think
And
everybody.
be seeing you soon.
Yes. And who Michael Niemann is there. Hi, Mike.
Well, hey there, guys. Still supine.
Yeah, well.
You guys, for those of you who don't know, I broke my ankle in South Africa and picked up COVID along the way. So it's been a fun couple weeks. But I've really enjoyed the program. And of course, Leonard's one of the great most knowledgeable people about this subject. And so I think it's a real pleasure for me to get to hear him talk about it. And I'm sure for everybody else as well. It's been great.
Well, thank you. Please say hi to your sister for us. We love her.
I shall. Definitely.
We should mention, that Michael's mother was the first wife of Vanya Schur, who was, of course, one of the leading lights of Reform liturgical music.
Yes, and she was basically in Israel was one of the champions of the Israeli art song genre, and did a lot of premieres and things back then, and then eventually became an opera singer in Europe, and also cantorial soloist. I mean, they've all been doing it. My sister's been a cantorial soloist, so yeah, and an opera singer.
And I hope we'll be working with you at the Metropolitan Synagogue again this year. We've canceled for 2 years.
Certainly hope so. Yeah, unfortunately, the Metropolitan Synagogue the last 2 years, due to COVID precautions, went completely online and had the music pre-recorded, basically, that stuff that had been recorded in previous years. So we're hoping that's going to change this year. That's certainly the hope, and I'm looking forward to that possibility.
I am going to stop the recording. We can keep visiting for a little bit, but I'm going to stop the recording here.
All right, thank you, David.